right, Chef Kyle here, and we're gonna go over some basic knife skills, safety and sanitation, and just overall kitchen setup. So whenever I'm doing anything in the kitchen, I first set my station. I do it with intent. So I've got my ingredients, I've got my workstation, I've got my tools, and some specialty items along the way. So first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and peel this potato. I've lined the cutting board with a little bit of plastic wrap. That's gonna just keep things nice and neat. We're always cleaning as we go in the kitchen, okay? And so for me, with big hands, I'm able to take this peeler and kind of rock it towards me with my thumb, making long, smooth strokes. What we don't want to do, or we want to avoid, it's just wasting time, is peeling your potato like this and ending up with little spots. So if we do it with intent, we pull long strokes from the top to the bottom, turning ever so slightly. It'll just make for faster, more efficient time. And again, when we're doing one potato like this, maybe it doesn't matter, but when you've got 50 pounds of potatoes on your table, you want to be as quick as possible, right? So you can see, pick up all my little trash, cleaning as I go. Potatoes need to go into water so they don't oxidize. So I've got a little bowl of water there. And now we're getting ready to cut. But before we cut, we want to go over some just basic safety stuff. So we've got a kitchen knife. It is a potentially dangerous situation for us, but if we follow a few rules, we'll be good to go. So for the first thing with this, if we're ever going to move it from one area to the other, we're going to walk with it at our side, okay? And that's just pointing down. And when I come around a corner or I come up behind somebody, I'm going to announce what I'm doing. So knife behind, knife corner. That way I just don't surprise anybody with a knife behind it, right? From there, we can talk about our workstation. So a solid workstation is very important. The cutting board, this one here doesn't have little rubber stamps on the side, so I put a wet paper towel down and that'll secure it from sliding, okay? You'll also notice the cutting board isn't hanging over the edge. The cutting board isn't far away from me. I'm not sharing a cutting board. My cutting board, one person, one cutting board, one knife, right? From there, we can finally talk about picking up this knife. This is a chef's knife or a French knife. Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do, other chefs might ask you to do different things, but I'm going to ask you to take your index finger and your thumb, and you're actually going to grab the blade or pinch the blade itself, and then you wrap your 4 fingers around the handle, okay? What we don't do is take our finger off the wheel and point at our food. Our food didn't do anything bad, so we're just pinching the blade. We're not back here riding dirty, right? So pinch the blade, we're good to go. The cutting stroke, what we're going to look for is 2 directions. We're going down and through. Okay, that's going to make nice smooth strokes down and through. You might want to just practice that a few times without the other hand. Once that motion seems comfortable, we're going to go ahead and introduce the other hand. Out of these 5 fingers, the thumb is the most important one. So what we're going to do is we're going to protect that thumb, kind of like a king in chess, right? And we've got our little pawns here up front. The next part that we could potentially cut is our fingertips. What we're going to do to protect those is we're going to kind of tuck those under. And then you'll notice I've got a flat wall here on my middle finger, and that's going to give me a nice guide for my knife. And now I know where my knife is at all times. And as long as I don't come up too high like this, okay, or as long as I don't tuck my thumb out like that, I'm gonna not cut myself, okay? So down and through. Now this is with no food, right? So we're just practicing that way before we get comfortable. Okay, so now that we have our station set up and we've talked briefly about safety, we're gonna go ahead and process our potato for the different cuts. So this is peeled and ready to go. Again, it was in cold water so it doesn't oxidize or brown, right? From there, I kind of want to just roll it around, find a flat spot for it to sit. That way I'm not chasing it around the cutting board. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take something that's round or oblong, and we're going to go ahead and square it up, right? And so straight knives make straight cuts. I'll go ahead and take one side off, and I'm just kind of visualizing in my head some sort of rectangular shape. Now, we're always balancing yield and our accuracy here. And what I mean by that is I'm squaring this up nicely, but I'm not really getting rid of all of the potato, right? So it doesn't have to be perfectly square. But you see we take care of 4 sides. We'll come in and we'll move the top and the bottom here. And then we have somewhat of a rectangular shape, right? From there, what we can go ahead and do, again, practicing with that good grip, is we're gonna go ahead and make some plank cuts. And I like to just kind of eyeball these. We're gonna go, we'll say, 1/4 of an inch, right? You can get a ruler out and really measure them, or from there, what you're really looking for is consistency. So whatever I did the first one, I want the second one to be exactly the same. So we go ahead and cut our planks, okay? And you can see that these are pretty much the same, right? And from there, we're gonna do one at a time. We're gonna take our planks and we're gonna cut them another 1/4 of an inch this way. And you can either stack them like that, and that way they're pretty much exactly the same. Okay. And now you have what we call a julienne, or sometimes we'll call this a batonette, or we'll call it a French fry. We can do those. And from there, we'll go ahead and do some more. We take these julienne or batonette and we'll square them up like this, and a 1/4 inch this way. And again, it's not a race at this point. We're looking to try to make really nice, consistent cuts. And there you see we have our dice. Some other cuts we can practice here. We're going to take some of our trimmings or scraps, and we're just going to practice maybe chopping these. So again, we're not worried about how nice they look. We're just kind of cutting this up, and this might be for a little hash or some sort of stir fry, some sort of soup, where you're not too concerned about the appearance. And from there, we can then practice our mince. So that bear claw grip, we're gonna switch up to a 2-handed grip here with our hand on the top. And we're going to chop, again, with our hand on the knife on the top, and we're working our way back and forth. At no point am I doing kind of a karate chop style, right? My hand is in control. I'm working my way back and forth like a little semicircle. We can scrape the food back into a pile. You can do this with onions, you can do this with garlic, but again, we're rocking back and forth, okay? And again, once we're done, when we go to clean this, we're gonna, again, walk with it at our side, but just for illustrations here, we've got a sharp end, and I'm always gonna keep that pointed away from me as I wipe this rack, okay? When you go over to clean it in the sinks, we don't wanna leave it in the sink. Again, hot soapy water. The worst thing, we can surprise somebody if they reach in and grab a knife, ouch, right? So we're gonna wash our knife, we're gonna dry our knife, and we're gonna put it back where your chef designates.